Eric Cartman, everyone's favorite innocent little boy that is actually a narcissistic sociopathic child who finds joy in the suffering of others. Despite his malicious intent and overall lack of empathy towards anyone or anything, it's not very often that he truly gets what he deserves. Sure, his plans often backfire, leaving him in some rather unfavorable circumstances, but for the most part, he's able to do horrible things to countless people without any real consequences. Because of this, before season 12, fans of the show were eagerly awaiting the day that Cartman truly got what was coming to him, that one time that he would take it just a bit too far with the wrong person. As the old saying goes, if you mess with the bull, you get the horns, but up to this point, Cartman had been an expert matador in that regard. I mean, sure, he may have gotten grazed a few times, but he avoided any real danger. And when you have escaped the consequences of your actions this often, you start believing that you're untouchable, that nothing will ever make you pay. The thing is, when you make a habit of annoying bulls, sooner or later, you're bound to mess with the wrong one. And in the season 12 episode Breast Cancer Show Ever, Cartman did just that. Cartman begins to get just a bit too comfortable tormenting Wendy, and she decides that it's gone on far too long. This results in not only one of the greatest episodes in South Park history, but one of the most satisfying moments from the entire show. I've been told it's on a similar level of satisfaction as when they killed Joffrey in Game of Thrones. Sorry for the spoiler, I've never actually watched Game of Thrones, but that's what I've been told. So now, let's take a look into how all of this went down. How did Cartman go from unstoppable force of evil to pathetic, whimpering mess in the span of a few days? Let's find out. This is Cartman's biggest L. You know what else is incredibly satisfying? The feeling of knowing that your online browsing data is completely safe, and you can achieve that feeling with today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN works by encrypting all of the information sent between your device and the internet. This keeps your personal data protected from big companies or cybercriminals. By changing your IP address, a VPN also changes the location of your device, so you can set your device to be anywhere in the world. This may be helpful to many of you because I know that Paramount Plus isn't available in some countries, and with this, you can watch the South Park specials that are exclusive to Paramount Plus from anywhere in the world. But most importantly, by using Surfshark VPN, you will be securing your online data. Free public Wi-Fi is a goldmine for hackers, but by using VPN encryption, you can ensure that your online data is completely secure. For me personally, this is incredibly useful because I like to write my scripts in public areas like coffee shops or libraries, and it's really nice to know that I have that extra layer of protection. So if you want to be protected or just want to watch those South Park specials, go ahead and click the link in the description below to sign up now. If you use my code, you get an extra 3 months for free, and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there is absolutely no risk in trying it out. So go ahead and use my code BLOOMS right now to go get those 3 months for free, and thank you to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. The episode begins with Wendy giving a report to the class about breast cancer awareness, an incredibly serious topic that is absolutely not funny in any way. As Wendy continues her presentation, Cartman can't help but burst into laughter every time Wendy says the word breast. You know, watching this show a lot, you can sometimes forget that these are supposed to be 4th graders, but then they have a gag like this and you're like, yeah, I probably would have laughed at that in the 4th grade too. Cartman just keeps going, saying whatever he can to get under Wendy's skin, with Wendy getting increasingly frustrated.
Me? You're the one talking about killer titties.
She then says a line that pretty well encapsulates the progression of Cartman's character up to this point.
Will somebody do something? Every week he gets worse and nobody does anything.
Later, in the hallway, Cartman continues to pester Wendy completely unprompted. This causes Wendy to lose her patience, challenging Cartman to a fight after school. Cartman confidently accepts, posturing for all the people around, but it's pretty clear that he's not taking this thing seriously, joking with his friends about it at lunch. Wendy, on the other hand, is clearly taking it pretty seriously, as she's over there looking at Cartman like she's about to fight for the UFC middleweight title. This definitely gets Cartman's attention, and he begins to realize that he may be in a bit over his head. This only gets worse when the rest of the boys discuss how embarrassing it would be for Cartman to lose to a girl, and how poorly everyone would think of him after that. Now this gets Cartman really nervous, since he's delusional enough to think that everyone really likes him and that this would totally ruin his image. Because of this, he immediately goes to Wendy and apologizes for his comments. Wendy says that if he were really sorry, he would say it in front of everyone. And because people are looking now, he quickly switches back to his tough guy act.
Oh, Wendy. Such a desperate attempt to get out of it. These students are a little too smart to see you're just making excuses not to fight me.
But as Wendy continues to remind him of his inevitable fate, the facade begins to break down. Cartman is able to convince the rest of the boys that Wendy is trying to get him to call it off, and even goes as far as to pull her into the janitor's closet and lie to her about his mother getting breast cancer in an attempt to get her to feel sympathy. When that doesn't work, he tries to bribe her with $27, tell her that he has muscular dystrophy, and tell her that his mom has muscular dystrophy.
My mom has muscular dystrophy. In her boobs.
Wendy reminds him once again that there is no way out of this. He is so desperate at this point that he's willing to do literally anything Wendy wants him to.
Jesus Christ, do you have no sense of self-respect?
No, unless you want me to. You want me to have self-respect, then I will.
Of course, he's willing to do anything besides publicly admitting that he doesn't want to fight. So, in a final show of just how pathetic he can be, he literally eats his underwear in front of Wendy. This, of course, doesn't change Wendy's mind and just solidifies what a coward Cartman is. He decides to switch up strategies and goes to Stan to try to convince him to get Wendy to stop. He does so by pretending that Wendy is doing everything that he's doing.
She told me she doesn't want to fight. She's just stuck, Stan. Because she knows I'm going to kick her ass, but she feels like if she doesn't fight me, all the kids are going to call her chicken.
When that doesn't work either, we cut to Cartman in class as the end of the day is rapidly approaching. They do the thing here where the topic that they're learning about just so happens to directly correlate with what's happening, and it's just a bit on the nose.
And so you see, at this point Euripides knew he could not win the battle.
So as the clock continues to tick, Cartman hears that Clyde has detention, and he realizes that he has one final attempt to get out of this. So, in a make-or-break decision, he goes for it.
Eric, did you just take a crap on my desk?
What's up? What's up? I crapped on your desk, Doug. What's up with that?
Cartman is off the hook for now. He's in detention where he's safe. He makes sure to remind the boys that he didn't do it because he was trying to get out of the fight.
Because I'm hardcore. You know, I'm anti-establishment. That's how I roll, dogs. I do hardcore stuff like that.
He's feeling confident, like he once again got off scot-free. Until the boys tell him that the fight is rescheduled for the morning. If we're continuing with the bull analogy, it's kinda like the bull missed the first time, but now it's circling back to charge again. Completely out of options, Cartman commits the absolute cardinal sin that all 9-year-olds are familiar with. He tells his mom. He works up some alligator tears in front of Wendy's parents and tells a sob story about his lack of friends and how scared he is of Wendy.
I want to be your friend because I don't have that many friends at ski.
When her parents make her promise that she's not gonna hurt him, Cartman just can't help himself knowing that he's out of danger and pushes her buttons just a little bit more. When Wendy arrives at school, Cartman is there at the meeting place seemingly ready to fight, but of course, as he knows, Wendy can't fight, and he succeeds in making it look like she chickened out. You know what's funny is that if Cartman had just quit while he's ahead and just let it go and quit trying to get under Wendy's skin at this point, this probably would have been the end of it, and he really would have gotten away with everything once again. But as I and all great gamblers know, you never quit when you're ahead. Cartman just can't help himself. His invincibility complex just grows stronger every time he avoids consequences, and the joy he finds in tormenting people is just too strong. So, in class, he gives the report he's been working on, and it goes exactly how you expect it to.
And like the victims of breast cancer, there's something I'd like to get off my chest.
Wendy is completely dumbfounded by this. Cartman has already beaten her, and he just keeps rubbing salt into the wound. She is completely and utterly helpless, forced to be tormented by Cartman with no end in sight. She gets called to the principal's office where she tells the principal that there won't be a fight. Principal Victoria questions her on this, and transitions her questioning into what is one of my favorite moments from the entire series, where she reveals to Wendy that she is a breast cancer survivor and goes into a monologue about the harm that cancer can cause.
Cancer is pure evil. It is a fat little lump that needs to be destroyed.
You can't reason with cancer. You can't wish it away. Cancer doesn't play by the rules, so neither can you. You have to be willing to give up everything because the cancer will take everything. When you have cancer, you fight because it doesn't matter if you beat it or not. You refuse to let that fat little lump make you feel powerless.
Like I said, this is literally one of my favorite scenes from the entire show. I get goosebumps every time I watch it. If you haven't seen the full thing, go watch it now. It is totally worth it. Wendy understands exactly what the principal is saying.
Yes, ma'am.
She is locked in as she walks through the halls preparing herself. The part where she takes her coat off to reveal the unicorn undershirt goes unbelievably hard. When she makes it to the playground, Cartman quickly realizes that his worst nightmare has come true. The entire school surrounds them, and with nowhere to run, Cartman tries one last time to get out of it by reminding Wendy that he's going to tell his mom. Wendy is far past that at this point, and Cartman comes to the realization that all of his time messing with bulls has finally caught up with him. With everyone watching and nowhere to run, in one of the most satisfying moments in TV history, it's time for him to finally get the horns.
Wake up, filthy.
As everything settles down, Cartman is left wallowing in self-pity and embarrassment. The kid who was once completely unstoppable, getting away with whatever he wanted, had finally met his inevitable fate. Despite suffering such a horrible beatdown, his delusions are still present, thinking that because of this, he's no longer the cool kid in school. The boys remind him that he was, in fact, never the cool kid, and that their opinion of him couldn't have possibly gone any lower. He is able to somehow convince himself that they were saying this stuff because he is cool, and this makes him feel not as bad about the situation. Hey, whatever you say, man. Whatever you say.
Oh God, what a relief! Yay!
Did I mention that this is one of my favorite episodes of South Park? Watching Wendy being absolutely tormented throughout the entire episode just for trying to spread awareness of a cause really highlighted just how terrible Cartman can be. I think this is actually one of the best Cartman episodes, because every time you think he has sunk to his lowest point just to get what he wants, he sinks even lower. There are 12 whole seasons of Cartman being horrible that built up the desire to see him finally get some karma, and with this episode, they take it to another level. As the episode progresses and he keeps finding more and more pathetic ways to escape the consequences, you really begin to root for Wendy. But Cartman just keeps winning, and by the time Wendy arrives in the principal's office, you have very little hope for Cartman receiving any kind of justice. But when Principal Victoria begins her speech and you realize what she's saying, that hope quickly returns. All of the suffering that Cartman has inflicted on others for 12 years has built up to this one moment, and the payoff is sweeter than we could have ever imagined. Cartman had been tormenting the town for over a decade, and Wendy knew that no one would do anything about it. So, she took matters into her own hands, and in doing so, she hand-delivered Cartman's biggest L.